Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I'd like to do is talk about a brand name, de Bethume. And I'd also like to mention something new that Breguet has done. So we'll be taking a look at this. First of all, de Bethume is really the sort of the watchmaker behind it. There's a guy named Denis Flageolet. Flageolet back in 1989, along with F.P. Journe and Valéry Halter, started a company called was referred to as THA. It stood for Techniques Horologiques Appliquées, and they did a lot of watchmaking for movement making, primarily for different companies. And then in 2002, Denis Flageolet and Denis Zanetta started de Bethume, and they started making watches that were, on the one hand, traditional, but on the other hand, they were using a lot of the new technology like CAD/CAM and things like that. That was not a problem. And I think the philosophy that Denis Flageolet had was more along the lines of, yes, I want to do a lot with traditional watchmaking, but on the other hand, I want to use a lot of new things in the new technologies. Now, the first two are the first several he made. The DB1 was a pretty standard mono pusher chronograph. Caliber de Bethume 2002, manual wind, 3 hertz. Swiss lever escapement, 36-hour reserve monopusher chronograph. Someone pictured on the left up there. The other one, well, then they had a 2, 3, and 4, and different things, dual time, some other things like that. But then by the DB5, I'll reference DB5W. That was the first self-winding one that they had, but everything else about it was very similar. You can see in the design the lugs are the same, and it's sort of that kind of watch. Now, one of the things, and I think to understand de Bethume, you have to understand sort of this contradiction almost that goes between a great deal of respect for traditional watchmaking and watch movements, and yet wanting to involve a lot of new technologies within that. So that, I think, is sort of the real way to understand both de Bethume and, of course, Denis Flageolet, what he's doing. Uh, in 2005, for example, there was something that he developed called the triple parachute shock absorbing system, and there's a bridge for the balance wheel that adds as part of the shock absorber, along with 2 springs over the top. You can see in the picture in the upper left-hand corner. That same year, he came out with a new balance wheel that had these, instead of having a complete wheel, he had these 2, I guess they look like partial circles or partial rings, held together with an X, braces on them, and then in the middle was the balance spring. That next year he sort of improved on, at least on the looks of it, I think, of the new balance wheel. But then he added something that in 2006 was brand new, and this is a thermal compensated silicon hairspring. And for all of the reasons that silicon withstands temperature better, it holds its shape better, it's anti-magnetic, all of those things. So he was way ahead of the bigger move that were made by Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Swatch. Another thing that he invented that for some reason, caught my attention, I really liked, and this is a shock absorber for the oscillating weight, for the rotor. And it was this little thing with, I guess, it looks like it has 4 different wings on it, and each wing has 3 springs. And so you can see it there in the pictures. with the 12 little, looks like rubies on the top of the wheel. That's really a shock absorber for the rotor. Now, in 2011, de Bethume won the Aiguille d'Or, which is the grand prize at the GPHG, Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, with one called the DB28. Now, you can see we skipped a lot. We talked about DB5, and now we're up to DB28. It'll give you an idea of how much and how many different movements. I forgot what the total number of movements, unique movements, have been made by de Bethume, but it's been quite a lot. The DB28 was powered by the DB2115, so you have a lot of in both. Within something that was the in-house, it was called Manufacture de Bethume. Now, to me, the new direction, now this was back in 2011, that was 14 years ago, and what Denis Fagolet is really interested in what he calls horological Résonique. And what this looks to are these very high frequency elements to be used in timekeeping. Now, this is true. You might be thinking, wait a minute, isn't that what Quartz did? And the answer would be, yeah, Quartz did that, but he was looking for other kinds of ways of doing it other than quartz. And so this is sort of the really interesting thing about de Bethume is sort of the tradition and the new working together in some very creative ways. Now, just by sheer chance, when I was working on this, the other day I ran into a brand new watch by Breguet called Breguet Classic Subscription 2025. And looking at it, one of the things, Breguet's owned by Swatch, and Swatch is stuffing those silicone hairsprings in that on more than one occasion I haven't been crazy about. And so I'm thinking, well, here you have a Classique, and what are you going to do? Well, they didn't. They put in a metal hairspring, a Breguet Navicron hairspring, which delighted me no end, because that means if you have what I'll call, for lack of a better term, a traditional hairspring, you can have regulation. And I was looking at how it was set up as a regulator, and I found this little screw and a little movement that you can move to the left or the right, right over where you would normally find a regulator, and there it is, except it's a lot prettier, I think. And of course you have the 4-weight balance wheel with that. The other thing somebody pointed out to me, it never dawned on me, he said, isn't it unusual to have the barrel right in the middle? And I thought, yeah, that's really interesting. Anyhow, so here you have these two. This is Breguet Classic Subscription 2025, and I hope Breguet says to Swatch, look, we'll put silicone in these other ones, but we want these special ones, these classics, these traditional ones to have the other kind, the sort of Navicron, which is also owned by Swatch. So anyway, de Bethume going in a new direction of horological resonance of some sort, and Breguet Classique finally rediscovering its roots with this Breguet Classique Subscription 2025. Anyway, let me know what you think. This is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection.